Hello and welcome to T-Set Pass, my weekly Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. This episode is coming to you slightly later than I'd have liked. I've been traveling for 5 days and the minute I got home, I fell asleep instead of making the new podcast, so I'm very sorry for that. But the reason I've been traveling, along with work, is to compete in my second ever Yu-Gi-Oh! Regionals. Now, I've only competed in one before, and that was in Blackpool in 2021, I believe. So that was 2 years ago at this point. Peak of the Tri-Brigade format, I went in playing Bird Up, so I actually had quite a reasonable deck list. However, as the decks have got increasingly more powerful, I have actually taken a much worse deck to the regional that I went to this time. I took Hero, which is an incredibly nostalgic archetype, but it is nowhere near the power of the current most meta decks. The tournament had 7 rounds. I'm not sure how many people entered in the end. I think the maximum was about 130, but I didn't stay for all 7. I left after round 5. I headed down from where I live to the right city and met up with my boys Corey and Sean, and we spent all the night before testing, and the results made us very mixed about some of our deck list choices. My deck was Hero, like I said, a deck entirely focused on these Power Ranger style superheroes. They combine with each other, they change each other's masks to make sure they're more powerful in different forms. It's kind of a big blowout deck. They don't have a lot of complicated interruptions, but they can just punch the opponent in the face pretty easily. Sean was playing Branded, which is a deck all about fusion summoning, which also, just like Hero, combines multiple monsters, but instead of superheroes, his deck focuses on making powerful, nasty dragons. Now, Branded's very, very meta, but Sean doesn't have all the newest cards, so he was a bit of a disadvantage compared to some of the Branded players there. It's very nice seeing that he got to play the Dark Magician, though, to make the new fusion Dark Dragoon, which is very powerful if you can pull that off. And Corey played Draco Slayer, a pendulum-based archetype which continuously summon the same monsters over and over and over again. He can also have a lot of floodgates and field spells that give him a great amount of advantage. Although with Kashtira being able to disable pendulum zones, I think he was in a pretty nasty spot for this particular tournament. Of the 5 rounds, I won 2 and I lost 3, although there were some very close games in the 3 that I lost, and I don't feel too bad about it. I had some good showings. I believe Sean won 2 and lost 3, and I think Corey won 1 and lost 4. Round 1, I was against a deck which mixed 3 different kinds of deck together: Runic, Sprite, and Live Twin. Now, Sprite and Live Twin are both all level 2s, and they spam monsters from the extra deck to make themselves very powerful, and Runic have loads of interruption to destroy and negate the opponent's cards whilst also getting rid of half their deck. It's a pretty nasty combo, but we did win 2-1. Game 2, I was against Kashtira. Now, Kashtira have the horrible ability to just disable the board. If they do the right combo, they can turn off your monster and spell slots so you physically can't put cards in them. This happened to me quite a lot in games 1 and 2, and I just did not have any card zones to play the game. Hardly fun, and it was probably the least fun game of the entire day. I lost 0-2. Next game was against Mathmech with Ignista. I have never actually dueled a Mathmech deck in real life, and I haven't played Ignista for a long time. It was a really fun game, to be fair, lots of back and forth. He just edged me out on the first game, so I couldn't beat him. In the second game, I just drew no monsters, and it was just not happening. I lost 2-0 again. Round 4 was against Branded. Now, we had a long first game. It went to about 20 minutes of our 40-minute max. And after trading monsters for so long, he just beat me. It was a really clean game. I had a lot of fun. Game 2, I set up all of the floodgates. I had anti-spell, so he couldn't play spell cards. I had Rivalry of Warlords, so he could only summon fairy monsters, meaning he couldn't summon any of his powerful dragons. However, for 6 turns in a row, I did not draw any monsters, and the first monster I drew was malicious. It was not nice. He just kept poking me with his tiny little man, his Aluba, and I just could not recover. It was really sad that game 2 just went so poorly because we opened the nuts and drew no follow-up at all. And for the final game, it feels almost unfair to think of it in the same way because it was a really easy match. It was against a guy playing Empty Jar. Now, Empty Jar is a really funny deck from early 2000s, maybe late 2010s Yu-Gi-Oh!, where you'd play all the Morphing Jar cards, which let you discard and make your opponent draw, to make your opponent draw so much that they draw their entire deck, and mill as well. However, the downside of this, which is why it isn't a good deck, is that your opponent then has to have loads of extra cards in their hand, and they have a graveyard full of cool stuff with grave effects, which is what I had. He sent half my deck to the graveyard, and then all the cards in my deck that activate in the graveyard popped off, gave me so much advantage I just destroyed them in 2 turns each game. Couple that with things like Ash Blossom, which negates drawing effects, to just negate his cards outright. It was kind of a quick game. Like I said, I could have kept playing for 2 more rounds, but at that point, because of the many losses earlier, I wouldn't have made it into the top 30. And if you don't get into the top 30, you don't get any kind of prizing reward. So I'd have been playing for 2 more hours to win nothing extra. So it was kind of like I could either go to bed or I could keep losing matches, and I made my choice. But I'm pretty pleased with how I performed, seeing as it's the first time I've competed. I don't even go to locals, so this is the first time I've played paper against anyone in person in maybe a year. My choice was between Ninja and Hero. Ninja's a fun deck. It's got loads of small, weaker monsters, but they have loads of tricky interruptions. They can set the opponent's cards to stop them from using them. It's not the most high-powered deck in the format, but it has some really good, complicated interactions. I was scared of playing Ninja because I feel like I could mess it up more easily than Hero. Hero, you just make your big guys and you either win or you lose. Ninja, you actually have to play well, and that's very scary to think about. However, after playing this tournament, I've seen where a lot of decks have choke points, I've seen where a lot of players have misplay points, and I feel like if I took Ninja to my next event, it might go a lot better than taking Hero to this event. But if I was playing Ninja, there's no way I'd have been able to win in time. It involved more thought than Hero, but I think I now have some room left in my brain to do that increased thought and maybe deliver more on the competitive circuit. I think lessons learned is knowing your own deck perfectly. Like, it's obviously really good if you can know your opponent's deck, but knowing every advantage in your own deck is key. You shouldn't have to think about what you're going to do. You should think about what you're going to do in response to them. And then if you've never competed in any kind of Yu-Gi-Oh event before, general tips, they're really, really long. So make sure you get some sleep beforehand. I never do. I always stay up late thinking about it too much. I'd say get your deck list sorted before you arrive, because it's really stressful changing it at the last minute and you're always having to find sleeves and that kind of thing. It's pretty nightmarish. Don't panic about how bad you are with your deck, because there's always going to be someone who's worse than you. And play whatever archetype you really want. You might not win, but sometimes playing an archetype that people aren't ready for can really help. The guy at this locals, he won 5 rounds in a row, I believe, with Abyss Actor, which aren't terrible, but they are nowhere near the power level of some of the decks that he's been beating that day. Keep an eye out for vendors whilst you're there. They normally have a person set up there selling competitive cards that you might be missing from your deck, but they normally sell cool collectibles as well. I managed to pick up some signed cards this time. I managed to get 2 Ra Sphere modes signed by Marek's voice actor, which I'm very pleased with, and 1 copy of Scapegoat signed by Joey's voice actor, and my friend Sean picked up a Firewall Dragon signed by Farfa himself, one of the biggest Yuki tubers around. I'm genuinely excited to compete in another event, which I don't think I would have said after my first regional. Going alone really makes it cold. Going with friends is a really different experience, because after every round you could just check in with each other. How did you do? Did you get destroyed? Did it go well? It's really nice being able to regularly talk to someone every time. I'm not sure that Ninja will still be playable after the new set. We're getting a brand new Yu-Gi-Oh set very, very shortly, Psystorm Access. But whatever happens, I'm very, very excited to pick my next deck to go. I don't think I'll go with Hero again. It's fun and I love Hero. I've always loved Hero, but I just think I need more interruption cards to compete with some of the top meta decks. Next week, I am very excited to be bringing my good friend Abyss. She's an artist on Twitter who I'll link in the bio below. She'll be talking about the state of the current game. We might even dip our toes into talking about the anime. I would have had her on this week, but the regional that I wasn't planning on entering kind of derailed my weekend, and I feel like I should get my thoughts out on it before I forget them. Until next time, I hope you enjoyed this solo cast today. Maybe I'll alternate between conversation ones and solo ones. I'll let you guys vote below whether you prefer it when I'm alone or prefer it when I have a guest. Either vote on the poll on Spotify or leave a comment on YouTube. And if you want to support the podcast, drop a subscribe over on the Patreon or on TikTok or YouTube. Wherever you happen to be listening, let me know. leave a comment saying hello, and leave a comment saying how you found the podcast. Are you one of my TikTok followers, or did you just stumble across it on YouTube or somewhere? Until next time, feel free to use the comments or the Spotify suggest box to tell me what you want me to cover in future episodes of the podcast. I'm really interested in diving into any topic that you say, and if I choose your topic, I'll give you a shout out based on whatever username you choose to provide. I will also be linking our deck lists that we used for this event. So if you check the links on YouTube and in the Spotify description, you can find our amazing deck lists that failed to win even the majority of the matches that we played that day. But however, you can see what we were working with, and you can let us know how bad a decision we made, maybe. Until next time, farewell. Tune in next week. Should be Wednesday, if not Thursday, if I'm tired.